So if I was to draw a cube in perspective, and this is like cornerstone uh, of your drawing experience, you really need to nail down this idea. So here are the three corners of a cube. Okay. If I was going to put this into perspective, this might be the bottom right there, and it's heading in this direction. Now this top line here is not going to be parallel, it's going to be slightly fanned out. So eventually these two are going to converge. These two are going to converge to the same vanishing point. And we do the same thing on this other side here. So let's say this is going to go in this direction, and this also is going to converge. So you can see that these over here are going to converge also at a vanishing point somewhere in the distance. Let's get the back end here, and I'll start right there. And so this guy's going to also join 1, 2, 3, these three guys at a vanishing point. They're all going to converge at a certain point, and we can just estimate that with our eye. And then right here, we're going to come up here, and you could even do something like this to get a feel for about where that's going to go. All right, right there. That looks pretty good. All right. So let's sharpen this. Let's sharpen this up just a bit. All right, so there's our nice cube that's going back into perspective. The one last thing I want you to get accustomed of doing is find the correct center of a side of a cube that's also going back in perspective. If you guesstimate, for example, let me show you why it's so important to use that X. First of all, here's a square or even a rectangle. And if you connect the corners, that's going to give you the true center of that box. Same thing over here. You could do the same thing. Any square, you can find the true center this way. So let's just say if we change this to be in perspective, it may look something like this. All right, so this now has become that. If I was to kind of guesstimate, okay, I think the center is right about there. That looks about right. Well, that center is not in perspective. So let's put up X there. Let's connect the corners, and you'll see how off that is. Wow, that right there is the true center of that box in perspective, you see? So this is the method that we use in order to find the center. And this is now we can start to build things around that. Okay, let's go ahead and start to get this thing worked out here, okay? So let me turn this off here in a new blank. All right, let's go ahead and draw this using that method. So let's get our head around using the big picture here, and whenever I am drawing a building, I always look for the corner that's closest to me. So that right here is going to be this one right there, this corner right there. Let's change the color there so you can see it. That's the corner that's closest to me, and usually that's how I draw any building. I look for the corner that's closest. All right, here we go. So let's just say that that's the corner that's closest. Now let's get this other guy over here. Now he's going to be somewhere. This is just a guess. He's going to be somewhere over there. We're not quite sure yet, but that's a good location. And then let's also get this back corner. Okay, this back corner is going to be way over here. Okay. It might even be a little bit higher than that. Look at this. We could use a line of measurement, a horizontal line, to really get that position even more accurate. Let me show you how to do that. So if I use a horizontal line, look at that. I could see that the back corner is actually right on top of alignment, right on top of that. So let's make that accurate. Let me show you where I'm going. So if I've established this, oops, that there, then I know that this back end here, this is where the bottom of it's going to be because it lines up, you see? All right, let's go ahead and finish this, get this, use perspective and get this railing area kind of complete here. So there, those two are going to go back. That's going to go back to back to a vanishing point there. All right, we've just established that, right? And now let's kind of give a slight fanning out up here like this. This might be slightly different from our picture, but that's okay. Oops, where am I here? All right, good. All right, let's continue down this. So this is going back to a vanishing point. So is this. This little corner here is also going to go to that same vanishing point. So I could just lightly put that in with the idea that they're going to converge at some point. And then let's look to this. Let's look to this little point right there. This is going back. This is going back. So this guy's going to also have to go back, and just guesstimate with your eye. This is a really, really good practice to get into, of just practicing drawing, seeing a building, and then trying to get the base as a cube in the same perspective. It doesn't have to be perfect, just close. Let's drop a little straight right there. And then let's finish the back end of this box. So this is going back, this is going back, this is going back. This little corner is also going to go back. And that's going to give us the back end there, you see? Now the last thing is this, that right there, okay? All right, let's continue our drawing here, and I'm going to erase this. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Erase a little faster, huh? Okay, let's divide this platform in half. All right, so let's use that technique of drawing an X over here, connecting the corners. All right, so look at that. That's the back end there will be the tent. And then let's take this little dot here and kind of get him going back to the same vanishing point. So it just happens to line up with this corner. Sometimes that happens. And I'm going to put a vertical here to get the front end of that tent. But before we find the peak, let's get the front end wall here. And this is where I'm thinking. This is the box shape that I'm going to determine first before I get the center, okay? So really looking for that first front box shape right there. So let's start maybe right about there. And then this is going to also go back to that vanishing point. Okay, great. It's going to take me across. Okay. Now with this, I'll give you a second here. These are all guides, and I kind of draw mine a little bit on the darker side so you could see what I'm doing, but if you try and keep it light, you could draw on top of it. So there's one angle. Let's get the other one here. All right, so right there, that's gonna be the center of my box, of my tent there, and now we can. This is the center pole that's coming up. Okay. I'm just going to say that's the height right there. And this height can be anything you want. You could kind of make it a much more steeper or much more shallow. It's up to you. All right, let's get the peak. Let's get the peak of this roof near. Now this peak is going to go back to that those vanishing points over here. So let's kind of estimate where that's at here. Okay, this is a good line. That's a good line. So it's going to kind of converge this direction. You see that? Let's take this corner also back. Yeah, that was this corner here. If you didn't see me draw it, this line right there. Okay, I'm going to use this angle here and just copy it, parallel it. Bam! There's the back end of my tent back there. You see? And there is the peak of my tent. I'm gonna this little roof where it's this rain fly. I'm just gonna ignore it for right now and just kind of keep this simple. You can definitely add that on your own if you'd like. All right, so there's the back end there. So let's come down just a teeny bit there and flap. We'll just pretend like there's a flap. Flap is open there, and it's a slight curve. You can see how I've done that. Now I'm going to go in here and erase some of these lines on the inside here because I don't want these are slightly confusing me. Don't need these anymore. Okay, I'm not going to even get rid of some of these others. In fact, I'm going to keep erasing some of these. The only one you really want to keep is, let me show you, this one here. I want to keep this one here. We're going to use that one. I'll show you how we're going to use that. All right. All right, let's come straight up here. This is going to be our stovepipe. It's going to, right? And then let's go ahead and drop in. I want to put in a couple posts here. You see that? And then we're going to have a post coming here, that side. There's a railing coming over there. This is going to come a little bit to the center here. And then we could come to the center over here just a little bit. This is going to be the other side of our fence. Let's get the center post on the left side here. Again, I'm using an X. And the same thing on the other side. Sometimes lines just line up. They happen to fall in the same position, which is fine. Just don't let that confuse you. Okay, I'm going to add a board. And then a board going back in space here. Look at this. Turn the corner. And the board's going to go back in space here as well. Don't get confused. Be careful with your lines. Look carefully. And I'm just going to add a tone coming in here. You could even add a tone in your tent back here to add a little bit of shadow. I'm kind of making my tone back there. I'm not filling it all in. I'm leaving some value, so it gets a sense that there's, you are suggesting that there's objects inside of that tent. You see, in the dark shadow area, it's uneven. You see what I'm saying? I'm very careful when I'm putting it in to make it look, just something that is random. You see, something like that. I'm going to add some surface lines here to this piece of wood to really give a sense that this is straight up and down. Okay, let's do one more thing here before we end today, and I want to add these two planks that are steps. Okay, so let's start here. This is going to go back in space like this. Okay, let's put another one here. This is also going to go back toward that vanishing point. And then this is going to go back to that vanishing point, but it's a small You don't have to carry it all the way back. You could just kind of guesstimate the correct angle there. And then we're going to put another one. Same process. Just kind of come down here. And you can kind of visualize if this was straight down. All right, so that would be a nice step there, right? There you go. Add a little thickness to those. You can even start to add some logs maybe that are holding those steps up, right? Maybe some posts that are extending out of the ground here. And then you can look at this, the flooring of your area here where you're going to have your meals. You could simply, let me just show you this here. We've already established that as being the center and this over here being the center. So what you could do is just, you don't have to hit all these lines, but just draw it lightly. Make sure all these are heading back to that same vanishing point. Keep it light. So you can just kind of give a quick indication that that's wood flooring. I'm going to do just some fun little smoke coming in. I'm just thinking of S curves and C curves when I do this. And I think we are good to go on this. If you do have additional questions, please join our Facebook group. It's totally for free. Post your questions in there. You could direct it toward me, or even down here in the comments below, you could ask a question and I will try and answer it my best. My name's Kurt. I'm a dad who draws. All right. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Okay. Bye-bye.